Most people don't realize they are chasing validation because they're unaware, but because it doesn't start like chasing at all. It starts as something extremely normal, something almost invincible. You post something online, you check your phone, you see how people react, and you move on with your day, your life. Nothing about it feels deep, nothing about it feels psychological. It just feels like life. But somewhere along the way, something changes. And most people don't notice the exact moment it happens because it doesn't arrive like a big event. Imagine a normal evening. A person is lying on their bed after a long day. They are tired, maybe even bored. So they do what almost everyone does now, like nowadays. They open their phone. No intention, no strategy, no meaning behind it. Just scrolling, a few videos, a few posts, a few updates from people they know. Everything feels normal. Like until one post stands out. A friend posts something simple like maybe a picture, maybe a live update, and it gets attention, likes, comments, a lot of reactions. Like many people reacts on that post. Many people does, like everyone is just hey, so cute, so nice, so everything. And it doesn't seem important at first, but the mind notices it. Like because the mind is always keeping tracks, like it is always tracking patterns even when we are not aware of it. Then another post appears, less engagement, almost ignored, and again it doesn't seem important, but something quite starts forming in the background. Not jealousy, not comparison, something more subtle, curiosity mixed with self reflection. A thought that doesn't fully form yet, but it's there. It's like what makes something get attention and something else doesn't. And that question is where everything starts. Nobody changes overnight. That's the first misunderstanding. The shift happens in micro decisions. The next time this person thinks about posting something, it's slightly different, not dramatically, just adjusted. They think, let me take another photo. Or maybe this one isn't good enough. Or I should post this later when more people are online. Like at first, it still feels like a normal behavior, like effort, like presentation, like care. It doesn't really feel something big, something, it is just a normal thing to do. But underneath it, something else is forming. The post is no longer just expression, it's anticipation of reaction. And that difference is small, but it matters more than people realize because expression is internal, but validation is external. And once external feedback becomes part of the process, it starts influencing the process itself. After a while, something changes again. This time, after posting, they check their phone, not once, but repeatedly. Not because they are obsessed, but because they are curious, or so it feels. They refresh, they glance, they wait, and slowly, without realizing it, realizing it, their mood begins to sync with what they see. If engagement is high, there is a small emotional shift or lift, a quiet satisfaction, not loud happiness, just a feeling of, okay, this went well. But if the engagement is low, there is a drop, not dramatic, but noticeable. A slight questioning. Did I do something wrong? Why did that person's post get this and this? Why did this one not get that much reaction like the other one? And this is where validation starts becoming something deeper, because now it is not just about posting, it is about emotional regulation. The phone is no longer just a tool, it becomes a mirror, not of identity, but of perceived worth. Emotional, the brain is actually doing what it's designed to do. It responds to feedback, it learns patterns, it seeks reinforcement. So, when attention becomes frequent and measurable, the brain naturally starts treating it as a reward system. Likes become signal, comments become feedback, views becomes validation, and silence becomes uncertainty. Not because people are weak, but because systems that measure attention are powerful. They are designed to be noticed, and the human mind is designed to notice them. So the loop forms quietly: post, check, react, feel, repeat the same pattern. Post, check, react, feel, repeat. And over time, the loop becomes automatic. There is a point where things shift again. This is the most important stage, because now it is no longer just about posts, it becomes about self perception. People start unconsciously attaching meaning to reactions. If something performs well, it means I'm interesting. If something doesn't, maybe I'm not. And this is where validation becomes dangerous. Not because attention is bad, but because interpretation becomes personal. The reaction is no longer about content, it becomes about identity. And that is a heavy shift, because now every post carries emotional weight, not just creative weight. It is just a lot of emotional burden. And that changes how people show up online, because they don't just share anymore, they perform, they adjust, they filter, they anticipate, until slowly the original reason for sharing gets replaced. You are just sharing for fun, for something, but that original reason for sharing that gets replaced. Like, expression becomes strategy. You are no longer just posting for fun like you used to. One of the most subtle parts of this circle is how silence starts to feel meaningful. A post with low engagement doesn't just feel unnoticed, it starts feeling like rejection, even though logically it is nothing, it is just nothing. Like, people are busy, or the algorithm changed, timing was off. None of it has anything to do with personal value, but emotionally, it feels different. And that emotional interpretation is what creates attachment. Because now silence is not neutral, it is negative. When silence has a meaning, the mind starts trying to avoid it, which means it starts chasing the opposite attention. What makes validation so powerful is not that it controls people, it's that it feels like participation, it feels like connection, it feels like being seen. And those are real human needs, so the line becomes blurred. At what point does connection become dependency? At what point does sharing become performance? At what point does expression become approval seeking? Most people never define that line. They just live inside that line. The shift out of this circle is not dramatic. It doesn't happen in a moment of realization where everything changes instantly. It starts much smaller. It starts with awareness, noticing what happens after you post, noticing how quickly you check your phone, noticing how your mood responds to numbers, and most importantly, noticing that your life did not actually change based on those numbers. It changed only on your interpretation. Only your interpretation did. And that is a very important distinction because what you are reacting to is not reality, it is feedback. The way out is not disappearance, it is interruption. Small breaks in the loop, posting something and not checking immediately, creating without tracking reactions in real time, allowing silence without interpreting it, like letting a moment exist without measurement. This seems small, but they weaken the automatic connection between action and validation. And that is where change begins, not in stopping expression, but in separating it from approval. At some point, something shifts again, but this time in the opposite direction. Expression becomes lighter not because validation disappears, but because it stops being the reference point. And when that happens, something subtle returns. The original reason people shared in the first place. Not to be seen, not to be approved, but simply to express. And that changes everything because life stops feeling like a performance and starts feeling like experience again. And once you start noticing this shift, you begin to see something else too. That validation doesn't just shape how people see themselves online, it also shapes how they connect with each other in real life. And that's where friendship starts to change. Thanks for watching, guys. If you reconnected with this topic, please like, share, and comment in the comment section below. See you next time. Bye.